We had gotten stagnant in the relationship.
What do you mean stagnant? Like dead bedroom? You guys weren't having sex?
We weren't having sex. We worked opposite schedules.
Whose fault was that? The dead bedroom? Like, would he initiate and you turn him down?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there ever a dead bedroom with your chaotic?
No.
Interesting how that works.
Yeah.
Okay. You've painted a pretty good picture here. So you gave arguably your best years from 20 to 34 to a bipolar, chaotic drug addict who was physically violent with you, who was involved in criminal activity.
Why do you list bipolar as like...
It's not about you. Relax.
No, I'm just curious. Like,
I mean, we can go there. I know in your pre-show notes you seemed, Andrew Wilson had a point about how perhaps it's suboptimal to date somebody who's bipolar. And I tend to agree with him. I'm not trying to shame people who are bipolar, but
I mean, I get it. People have preferences.
People are allowed to.
Right.
People
I'm
are
not
allowed
saying you should have to, but I'm just saying, like.
You think it's wrong?
No.
So then what's your contention here?
The specific clip that I'm referring to is he mentioned that people who are quote unquote crazy, bipolar, schizophrenic should not have the right to adopt.
Oh, well, I can't.
So like,
Andrew's not here. I can't.
Yeah, I get it, but like I was just
like
mentioning that, and then also going back to the point that we were talking and y'all were talking about, I think just mentioning bipolar as like one of the negative connotations along with drug dealer and all those other things.
You don't think
it could get you stabbed in the neck?
If you have proper medication and if you're under
but if you don't, I mean, I'm not trying to like throw
not everyone has access
bullets
to
at you, but I'm just saying like it's what led to that, right?
Well,
so you could understand why a person would be
the same,
apprehensive about dating somebody with it.
I'm not saying you have to like date a certain person, but I'm just saying the list that you had was everything was negative. Mm-hmm. If you replaced bipolar and had a racial, like a specific race there, it would make it very offensive. People would get triggered. But when you use mental health and you use bipolar, then it's like somehow okay.
Well,
so do you think? Let me engage.
Or it's like wheelchair. Like if you add that to the list that you just said, that would be very ableist of you to say.
What do you mean ableist?
So would you consider it a positive?
No, I'm saying if you the same list you had, everything was negative, and then if you were to replace the word bipolar with like somebody who has a wheelchair, I'm not saying that's what you said.
Do you think being bipolar is the same as being black?
No, I'm just.
But why would you mentioned specifically if I replaced bipolar with black, that would be racist.
I didn't say those exact words, but I'm just saying. Ableism
Truth
and
Bomb
racism
donated
do
$100.
exist.
Yes, crazy people should not be allowed to adopt. Holy foe.
I actually agree with that.
The thing is, let's just even ignore that. Like, if you were to say somebody with a wheelchair, drug dealer, like blah 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 blah, that would be very ableist of
Can you
to
not
say.
have a preference to not date somebody in a wheelchair?
That's very ableist.
Drug dealer is a mental illness. I'm discriminatory against drug dealers.
No, because you were naming a specific list of like describing her previous partner, and everything on there was
Let me ask you a question.
Basically negative.
Is being bipolar ever a positive thing?
It could be a positive. A lot of people have creative minds. Look at Selena Gomez. She's absolutely amazing in music, and she's an incredible woman.
Do you think her life is better or worse because she's bipolar?
If you have the proper management and treatment, you can have
people
the
take
same or even better life.
It's gonna make it harder for you on your journey.
Let me just say one thing. Look, people who have a mental illness or who are bipolar, I absolutely have compassion for these people. But in my view, nobody's obliged to date you because you're bipolar. And if I can speak frankly,
not what I'm saying either.
But if I can speak frankly, yes, I think dating someone who has a mental illness is a suboptimal dating choice. And I personally would not do it, and I don't recommend it to other men.
Yeah, it could be a dating preference. That's totally fine. But the list that you were saying, you were basically describing her previous partner. Everything on that list was a negatively associated red flag thing, and then you added
I have compassion.
Okay.
I have compassion for people.
You don't have to date someone bipolar, but you just.
I have compassion for people who are bipolar and struggling with mental illness issues. However, yes, I think being bipolar, that would be a negative thing in the dating context.
I agree
And
with that. Like you said, you missed your medication for a bit. I'm not saying like you shouldn't do it, but it is more challenging to date someone who is mentally.
Right.
You missed your
And-
medication for a few days, and that's why you had an episode. But which it comes
Yeah.
with a negative connotation because there are like problems that could come from it.
Let's literally ask the woman who was in a relationship
So-
with someone that had bipolar
Yeah.
disorder. Like, would you say it negatively impacted your relationship?
I definitely think he should have, like, he's not with us for a reason, right? Like, there's a reason he's not here anymore. And if he actually was able to get proper treatment instead of trying to self-medicate himself on drugs
Right,
or
that's a
whatever to make him
completely
feel better,
different, like-
then, that would have been a way more beneficial outcome for him. But, I don't think life was easy for him. I would say that he had a death wish, like,
So what exactly is your objection to what I
My
said?
objection is not that you have to date a bipolar person.
Okay,
My
we can agree on that.
objection is that the list that you described, basically describing
Mm-hmm.
like her previous partner, it had, I don't remember exactly, but it had like drug dealer, like criminal, and like all the different things.
Yeah, negative
and
things.
like all the different things that were very negatively associated and very big red flags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
he
then
was
one
very
of them,
charming.
and
Cool.
one of them was basically bipolar. So I don't
okay,
think it.
let's simplify this. Is being bipolar a positive thing or a negative thing?
I don't think it should be a positive or a negative, but the list that you had is basically drawing it into a negative way. I definitely do think that people who are artists, if you look at Van Gogh and the amazing art he created, like, or Selena Gomez with his music, there's tons of different creative geniuses.
But for your partner,
Yeah, simplify it more for like in the dating sense though.
Right. And even in
Right.
the dating sense, I think it was kind of offensive for you to like have bipolar in the list of things that are clearly, we would all agree, are like negatively associated.
What? Okay, so you don't think that being bipolar is a negative thing?
No.
Do you take medication? You're bipolar, correct?
Yeah.
Do you take medication for it?
Yes, and I
Why?
see a psychiatrist and a
Why?
therapist.
Why do you take medication for it?
Same way somebody has heart disease and have to.
does
take-
anybody want heart disease? Is it a positive to have a heart disease? Like, it's okay. Like, you can say it's negative. Like it's
Like-
negative.
I'll change my example, but if somebody is like tired and wants to take coffee, caffeine is a drug. So
Question.
They're not always tired. It's not like that's a diagnosis.
I feel like it's a challenge more of like than a negative, because
It's-
negative assigns it like a
mean,
negative.
you
Like,
can dance around this all you
connotation.
want.
if you're
you can,
questioning me whether I would like, if there was a magical pill or somehow that I would take away completely 100%, heal my bipolar and schizophrenia, and I would just be going with it, I would say no. Because
say no.
I would say 100% no.
Why?
You feel like it's like a superpower?
Not in that way, but I think there's a lot of like creativity. I mean, I do a lot of different artworks and different.
Do you think all creative people?
Not all creative
have
people,
that?
but I'm saying there's.
So wouldn't you rather
specific-
just be creative and not have bipolar disorder?
That could be an option, but I personally don't think that it's something that I want to, like, fix essentially.
But what about like some of the challenges you've
also,
had
is
experience in
Selena
life?
Gomez actually a creative genius? Like, she has a producer. Does she write her own lyrics? She probably, like, I don't know the detail. I don't listen to Selena Gomez. Don't most pop artists?
She's
don't
an
most-
empowering woman and also speaks loudly
She-
about
she's
bipolar
empowering.
disorder and
That's-
mental illness.
That's cool,
in
but like
women.
you came at it from this, well, her creativity, but like, don't most pop artists have producers and songwriters?
So what about Van Gogh? I'll throw in another example at you.
Van Gogh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
he definitely had
So
some.
like, name me one artist that doesn't have
She
a
does.
producer who was able to do all this on their own and is not like.
well,
You probably can't think of an example. Exactly. So you should probably
think of a who?
like. I said, name an example of an artist.
Is
or
your
somebody.
argument mental illness is good because it inspires creativity in these individuals? Is that your argument?
well, didn't
I
God
think
make
mental
everyone
illness
perfect?
should not be. Sorry. Go ahead.
Didn't God make everyone perfect? 10 out of 10.
Okay,
There's
derailed.
still
Continue.
broken parts
Answer
of
my
the world.
question. Answer my question.
I don't think mental illness should be seen as a negative thing. It's something that, like, what if somebody, I'm just throwing out an example, like somebody was born with like 4 fingers, or like some certain things that make you unique or allow you to have that specific thought process. I know some people who are autistic like seeing shapes. Like I think that's very fucking cool. Like, you know, so I don't think it's like something that should be viewed as a negative thing.
Well, we're not seeing you as a negative person, but like you would rather not have mental illness, right?
She said no. She
No.
said
No,
she said she wanted to
she
keep
wants
it.
it.
But then I was asking about like, what about your mental illness? A lot of these like bad outcomes that have happened, like with the case of.
If
like,
I
this-
look back since March of 21 until now, honestly, the amount of progress I've made is a lot better than what it was
Truth
before.
Bomb donated $100. Watch out. She wouldn't change her mental illness cause it gives her an out to delete people and claim insanity. And an artist that does it all on their own is Tom McDonald.
I haven't checked
Tom
out
McDonald's
Tom
dope.
McDonald, but I'll definitely check it out.
Okay, look,
But
again, I'll just
not gonna
restate my
comment.
position. I have compassion for people who suffer from various mental illness issues. However, in the context of a conversation about dating, yes, it's suboptimal to date somebody who is suffering from a mental illness.
Living underscore donated $100. People love their mental illness because it makes them the main character and unique and different. Saying you wouldn't get rid of your mental issues proves this. Look at all this attention she gets.
So, thank you, Living. Okay, so if you're bipolar, what are some of the like symptoms of that? How could that manifest itself, for example, in a relationship?
Right.
Mood swings?
I mean, right now I'm in medication, so honestly, I haven't had a single hallucination, delusion, or
What happens if you
Like,
forget your medication? Has that
I'm-
happened?
no, I have not.
You've never forgone
No,
it?
No,
you said you did when
Yeah.
you poked.
No, I meant from like 2021 till now.
So, question for you. You know, there was the incidents of you in Las
Right.
Vegas where you sliced the guy or you stabbed him, whatever the framing is. Was your bipolar part of that?
100%, but also I was not treated well. I was not taking my medication.
Wait.
seeking
Nashunabo
therapy.
donated $100. Any sane person knows that it's a negative. I don't want to sleep in the same bed as someone who at a moment's notice may launch a knife into my throat because my cold feet touch her.
You were arrested. You stabbed a guy by your own admission because of your bipolar disorder.
Going
correct?
back, yes.
But is that fair to say?
It's not fair to say just bipolar. If you were to
Okay, perhaps there's other
reiterate
factors. Let's say it's 50% the cause. Would that be fair?
I mean, I don't have my statistics out, but I do know.
Was it
that
a
there's
contributing factor?
There's a difference between a bipolar person who's refusing medications, who's not seeking treatment, who's not doing good and taking drugs and alcohol versus somebody who is taking their medication, who is doing really good in school, contributing to society and all of that things. There's a difference between that.
I mean, sure. But
So-
would you say that in your case, was you being bipolar a contributing factor to the Las Vegas stabbing incident?
Untreated bipolar, yes.
Still bipolar.
Untreated bipolar.
Were you treated previously?
Like
Were you-
briefly, but I was off my medication at that time. And
Why did-
currently, I get drug tested just to make sure that there's enough like medication.
Okay.
So
Well, my understanding with bipolar, even if you're medicated, it doesn't 100% diminish the
that's why you
impacts.
have the therapist, and it's like you see different counselors. And
So are you trying to say that it's odd for people to see it as a liability in dating?
yeah, I don't
think that's odd?
Right. Like I think people should take it
Yeah,
into
yeah.
context, like how
You do
what-
see the comedy in this, right? Because of the thing that happened like 2 years
I
ago?
definitely do see it, but
Okay.
also as a mental health advocate, I don't want my story to be used as something that would like make people think, oh, the bipolar people they're gonna like stab you or something like that. That's why
We're
I'm
not
trying to
saying
talk
that.
right now. And I get it, it's kind of hypocritical in a way, but that's why I'm like being super honest about it and coming on this podcast in the first place, because I'm sure there are plenty of people who have bipolar
But
disorder
you're
who have known somebody's bipolar and they're just judging them out of no reason.
Yeah, but it's not like a character judgment. It's just it's a fact. It's part of their personality. It's something that, a mate should be aware of and decide whether or not that's a factor in dating them.
Right. Obviously, you have your preferences in dating, but Brian earlier used bipolar in a kind of offensive way. By
I mean, look,
listing it.
I'm sure that you would say you wouldn't date a guy that's like 5'2" or something, right? Like,
Right,
and
like,
you would
that's
have no
fine. Like,
worries
people have
about
different-
offending
we
a
have
short
different
man.
Hold
preferences.
on.
You know, like
Like,
you'll offend a short man, but like
I never said that not wanting to date a bipolar person is like not okay.
you said, saying that it was a negative is a bad
yeah,
thing.
saying that it's a negative.
Is it good to be a 5'2" man?
I mean, like, depends on other factors, but Brian was listing out different things that were, everything was a red flag, and then
Okay.
Yes,
associating.
and yeah, shoot me.
It also with
Being
kids,
bipolar,
Yeah.
it's
being
Mental
bipolar
illness.
is a red flag.
Yeah.
Sorry, is that offensive?
mental illness also
Like
runs
I
in
you
the
could
family.
have a
of you.
preference on not wanting to date a bipolar person, but the way you were describing it was kind of offensive to anybody who's like had
Not necessarily.
Well, was it also offensive to drug addicts? Was it also offensive to
offended.
criminals?
I mean,
Like,
I think we
he
would
named all those
I
things
think we would
together.
all agree that like drug dealers are not okay. Like I think
I've
Yeah,
met some
we can
pretty
all
cool
agree
drug
that
dealers.
bipolar people.
And
are not
initially,
okay.
I thought it
Pfizer.
was the drug use that was causing all of his erratic behavior. And then
What?
when we got back together the last time, and we were both completely sober, he definitely
Johnson and Johnson,
was the same.
Moderna. Sorry, my bad. I'm gonna get canceled. My bad. All right, I've offended the bipolar lobby. I have compassion for people who are bipolar or are struggling with their mental health, mental illness. I don't think it's wrong to say that it's a negative in a dating context to date somebody who's like got a mental illness that can significantly interfere with their relationship.
you can say you have a preference, but to word it that way. But we can move on.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, I was being offensive. Or
Dick.
was I? I don't think I was.
I think some people with bipolar as
Would
well
you-
would
would you
advocate
date a
that
psychopath?
It's okay not to date them, right?
Would you be do you think being a psychopath?
Like diagnosed.
Let me.
like-
Do you think being a psychopath is a negative thing?
I mean,
That's-
there's a difference between
no.
a personality disorder and versus bipolar.
Bipolar
isn't that a
isn't
personality-
bipolar cluster B personality disorder?
It's that there's different tiers within
Is
DSM.
bipolar a personality disorder?
I would have to double check the DSM handbook on diagnoses, but there's a difference between somebody who has like just a little bit of depression versus somebody who's like clinically like there's like
Bipolar.
different right like there's different levels to it obviously. And
so,
I feel like
so
everybody
is being a psychopath a negative thing?
I would have to like evaluate it, especially because like, is that like somebody that just says, "Oh, I'm a psychopath," or is it like diagnosed like, I don't know, like by
Diagnose.
Yeah.
I would probably not, but I would
Wait,
not.
aren't you worried about offending all the psychopaths that are watching right now?
No,
Mental illness.
That's you gotta be careful. Do you
No.
see? Look, when it's a personal thing that you're experiencing, you want to reframe it in a positive way because you live with that, right? Like, I think that everybody's compassionate about that. But when that's something that you're going through, to enable you to feel okay about that, like you're gonna want to reframe it in a positive way. You don't have to though. You can just admit that it's not the ideal situation that you're living with, and then just like keep taking your medication and doing well in school. If you could look, there's a reason why everybody hears the thing that you're saying and they see it as peculiar, because no one here would wish that they had it. I think that it probably came from rough childhood, I'm assuming, right? I mean,
I
that's
just want to be embracing the moment. There's a lot of different studies that talk about that life is eternal suffering, and honestly, what I can do is embrace the moment, and instead of like being like this, that, I'm like, wow, like
look,
if I
that's a
look
nice
back,
that's
I'm
a
like,
nice outlook to have on it, but like we can still have like negative traits about ourselves and admit it. It's okay. Like I have stuff about me that I don't like that I wouldn't call it. It's not. I'm not diagnosed, but
I got dandruff.
Is that positive?
I can't believe you just
It's a
admitted
negative.
that.
Why?
It's a negative.
I don't even know.
You should
Don't
have
be
kept
I'm
that.
offended if you don't want to date me and you
I
list
did
it as a
not
negative.
say that you have to date a
got
bipolar
eczema.
person. I'm just saying the list that you provided was extreme red flags, and then you had the bipolar.
But why was bipolar the only one that's not appropriate to list in the list of red flags?
Because the other things were clear red flags.
But
like,
to everyone else that's not bipolar, we see that as
like
a
I
clear
don't
red
think
flag.
I don't think criminals would get offended that criminal is a red flag in there.
What about a drug addict? What if they say that's mental
I don't think they'll
diagnosis?
get offended
I'm
either,
addicted,
like-
and you don't think so?
I don't think so, but
I mean, are you a drug addict?
no.
Okay, so I mean, if there were a drug addict sitting here,
Checkmate.
they could probably make the exact same argument that you're making about bipolar. You know, it's
They
just like
could,
it's a
but, like,
personal thing
I don't
that you're
really
going
see
through.
the charity or any organization that's like.
There are
go-
lots of
go-
charities dedicated for drug addicts.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
drugs rewire your
I'm saying the
brains.
opposite direction. Like pro, like let's take a lot of drugs.
Oh.
Like like that. I'm just saying like nobody would be advocating for that.
Well, yeah,
If that
nobody
makes
advocates
sense.
to have bipolar disorder either,
Like, I guess I'm here.
right?
I just think it's
It's a
important.
treatable thing. Like it's treated
Alright.
because it's not ideal.
Yep.
We can.
We're just
we can
going in
disagree.
circles. We're just I offended her. It was offensive for me to say that to consider being bipolar a negative. So yeah,